So Apple is gearing up to launch the iPhone 15 lineup next month, and with that means the iPhone 14 lineup is almost a year old now, and I'm not sure if buying it last year was worth it or not. So I kind of upgraded to this phone last year out of necessity. I was previously using the iPhone XS Max. That phone was fine for me, I really liked it, but it was dying on me, and I tried to drag it out 1 year, but then Apple got me with when they released this phone with their marketing of the dynamic island and the new display and the great cameras. So do I regret getting this phone or not? There are things I like about this phone, there are things that kind of bother me about it, but let's start with the camera. Photo side specifically. You know, sometimes I'm out and I don't want to carry around my mirrorless camera, so this honestly does the job. But I did find that sometimes the photos were a little bit over processed. You know, obviously when you take a photo, the phone is trying to do its best to expose for the highlights, the shadows, and keep everything, like especially the subject, sharp. And sometimes I just feel like it over sharpens a little bit too much. There's even a thing where I found like they were just slightly overexposed, which was fine. There was a simple workaround for me. I just set it to underexpose 1/3 of a stop by default. I usually shoot with the intent to tweak my photos a little bit after, whether that's exposure or just like how I want the image to look and feel. So that wasn't a big bummer for me. If you're someone that just takes a photo and wants to use it as that, I do feel like it's slightly over processed. But then again, with anything creative, it's like a personal preference kind of thing. Like somebody else might disagree. So that's the thing with anything creative, you know, it's all personal taste. With that being said though, one of my favorite things about this is the ability to shoot raw and its low light capability. Just look at the before and after of this picture and you'll see what I mean. Like it does a pretty good job. You can recover a lot of your shadows and sometimes even save your highlights. All right, so on the video side of things, I have no complaints about this. It's like, well, I have one thing I don't like, and I feel like that can be fixed down the line, but it hasn't yet. But the stabilization on this thing is crazy. Here's some footage of me purposely trying to shake the phone everywhere and just like running up and down a basketball court, and you can't even tell. It looks like I'm on a gimbal. I don't know how they do it, but it actually is pretty amazing. If you're shooting like a kid's sport event or just anything that involves a lot of movement, this is amazing. Like it does such a good job. It's 10 out of 10. In that category. One thing I'm not really sold on is cinematic mode, in particular when you're trying to rack focus between one subject and another, especially in a low f-stop. Actually, in particular, when you're shooting in a low f-stop, that's when I find it doesn't do a good job. I guess the phone just struggles to differentiate the background from your subject, and it'll blur a little bit. So the fall off just isn't great, and you can tell it's artificial. Raise your f-stop a little bit to like a 5.6. It does a better job, obviously, because it doesn't have to blur as much of the background. This is probably an AI issue that can be fixed with software, or at least improved with software down the line. Which brings me to my next point about the software and one of my biggest gripes with this phone. So generally the A16 chip is very fast, but I found this phone crashing more than I would like it to. And I'm not saying it happened all the time, but when you're paying so much money for a phone, I noticed when I was crashing, and it's not like it happened once in the blue. It happened frequent enough that I noticed. So I did upgrade to iOS 17, but I won't be covering that because it's still a beta, so it'd be unfair to expect, you know, I know what I'm getting into with a beta. It's gonna be buggy, there's gonna be stuff they have to fix on the line. But even with iOS 16, it wasn't excessive, but it was enough for me to notice. And I'm normally pretty considerate when a new phone drops, especially considering this one has some new hardware with the dynamic island, and it has to work, you know, they have to make it work seamless with the software. But even months into it, it was still crashing. In particular in iMessage, I don't normally game with my phone. Actually, I never game on my phone, but iMessage is like the one exception. And anytime I'll go to reply to a game and try to send back, it would honestly crash probably at least 50% of the time, probably more, till this day, by the way. And I don't know right now if this is because I'm on the iOS 17 beta, but it was doing that when I was still on iOS 16. So one thing I wanted to mention is the battery life on these phones. A lot of people are saying that it's much worse on their iPhone 14 models than previous iPhone models. Some people reporting that they're well below 90%, and the phone hasn't even been out for a year now. This hasn't been the case for me. My phone as of now is still at 95% battery health. I mean, I'm generally pretty good at keeping my phone away from heat. I don't wirelessly charge. And I normally don't let it go to 100. All right, so I have one last complaint about this, and I don't know if it's just a me thing or other people feel the same way about it, but this phone is heavy. Like, I get it. Is the metal frame and glass is pretty heavy and it has a big battery, I understand. But this thing, especially at night with one-handed use, starts to be super uncomfortable and it starts to strain your wrist a little bit when you're holding it. Especially like sometimes I'll watch a YouTube video at night and I'll kind of hold it like this at an angle, and it'll like start to strain my wrist a little bit. And it became apparent to me when I was testing out the Nothing Phone 2, which is just about the same size as this, but it's like, it feels like half the weight. I don't know if that's true or not. It just felt a lot more comfortable to hold. Yeah, but I think going forward, I'll be switching to the Pro models instead of the Pro Max, just to save on that little bit of weight, because it honestly is a fucking heavy phone. And I can't imagine dropping this thing on your face. Like, it's gonna do some damage. Do I regret getting this phone? No, I don't think so, but if I had to go back, I would probably get the 14 Pro instead of the Pro Max and save those $100 and maybe just upgraded the storage. Maybe put those $100 on storage instead, or just saving $100, I don't know. But I don't regret the phone. It's not like I hate it. Going forward, I'll probably downgrade to just the Pro, and especially considering since the prices are rumored to be raising in the future. If you're looking to get this phone, once the 15 is out, I recommend this phone from a third party in the used or refurbished market, because the prices are going to drop a lot more. And if you can find this phone for under $1,000, I think it's a really good deal. And especially if you don't mind that it's not USB-C, which the iPhone 15 is rumored to be, then I think this is a great deal if it's under $1,000. Please just wait the month and wait till the 15 drops, because obviously we'll be getting a big price cut soon. But what do y'all think? Any of you regret buying this phone or looking to pick it up in the future? I honestly think it's a good pickup now if you wait until the iPhone 15 drops. But yeah, I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.